we will pick up with you all leaving the winery behind. You have a short walk. It was about a quarter of a mile back to the hide where the Markovs were on the north side of the winery. Essentially, like, up a hill beyond kind of the most, like, desecrated of the vines. And you can kind of, like, walk into the same little pasture of trees. You see the same group of, I think it's 9 humans, 4 males, Davian being the oldest, 3 generally the same age, 2 of which that clearly look like Davian's son. And then you see his daughter, with the 4th male is her husband, as well as they have 3 children. One is an infant, 2 of them are like a young teen and a still quite young child, who are the 2 boys. And all of these people are jet black hair. All of them seem to be wearing their kind of like rain, like poncho style like capes. And they're all just kind of huddled about the area. It is early in your day. You probably last saw Elvir, I think it was like 2 hours ago. It's about 10 in the morning, Fleetwood now. Well, it's great to see you. You've all survived. Is it complete? Is it finished? Can we go back home?
It is.
Oh, Joy, you are all so wonderful. Did you burn it? And you see as Davian kind of like pushes out of the trees, kind of like rustling between all of you as he tries to gain an eyesight on the winery to see, have you burned it to the ground? And he's quite excited to see no. As he looks out, he's like, oh, blessed be. How wonderful. And starts shaking everybody's hands, just kind of like one hand on his cane, and he's kind of leaning into your hand while he's shaking it, but he's very excited to thank you all for the sacrifices that you've made and the assistance that you've proven. Thank you, thank you.
We are happy to be of service. I think that you'll find, for the most part, everything has been left intact.
So I would caution method operation. Tired.
You say a lot to be desired, what do you mean? That cellar is ancient. It has kept wine cold for much longer than you stayed alive, much longer than all of us.
Red creep, furry vines going all over the place. We're about to set the whole thing on fire. See? Yeah, we avoided that. Imagine a little bit of information beforehand could have paid to save the winery.
That cellar has been in place long since before Strahd ever gave the place to us and our families.
Yes, we were unsure if the haunted or an enemy, so we figured we would leave it be and allow you to make the decision.
Kind of like tilts his head to the right. A furry mold?
Presumed you at least knew of its existence. There's something in that basement. I'm not sure if it was drawn to the cold or if it was the source of the cold, but we left it nonetheless.
We here in Barovia have a saying, don't look a gift horse.
So, our
Shakes her hand again. Thank you, thank you.
I was substantial.
Are you just a strong man? Are you trying to shake us down?
No, not. But I feel that's adequate compensation for such a hefty deal. I would perhaps resupply ourselves.
Did Elvir not give you a healing spell? Elvir, did you not give them the spell? Father, I gave them the scroll.
Strange predicament we find ourselves in, renegotiating a deal after the terms are complete.
Renegotiating? Well, what award did we discuss for you?
Pretty sure you. Yet, thanks is.
Is the favor of the Mardikovs not enough? Do you need wine?
That there would be a sizable reward considering that you saved your vineyard, and perhaps we found something that does not belong to you. Go back and take it ourselves.
Seems a little shady if I ask myself. Ah, I'll be the judge of if you save my vineyard. Quick, over here. Let's go. Let's head back. Let's see how everything is.
Quite impressed with our absolute best not to destroy or harm anything. Left everything intact and did not help ourselves to her session.
I'm supposed to thank you for not stealing from me?
That reminds me. I think our search to must have come a sizable chest left open. I don't suppose there would be any form of help such travelers as at the very least spoken.
You all speak with the same forked tongues as the one who seems to have a tail but does not.
I assure you, Nick, but
So, out of character, what did you all discuss for a reward? I have nothing in my notes.
we tried to ask for. We were told from a member that reward just afterwards. Help us first. So that was the most we were. I think. Is that right? Gavi or
I wrote down generous reward. I'm pretty sure that's what I.
yeah.
That's
yeah.
all that
Oh, hey, Flea. I didn't.
So, he's going to walk back to the house as he goes through the winery, kind of like poking and prodding at everything. One of the things that he'll notice is that one of the vats is split open, and that he lost a sizable amount of the Red Dragon Crush. Seem to have damaged this vat. A lot of good wine has been lost here. Kind of goes through the rest of the house, looking over the damage. He doesn't seem terribly pleased. And he'll kind of go through things and eventually usher everybody into the kitchen and kind of sit down with you all and start to prepare a meal. And everybody can take a short rest. Well, it's certainly interesting that you would do a good deed and then immediately try to force me to pay you a reward. I had in mind to pay you a reward for sure, but to be forced into it seems awfully suspicious, as if perhaps you were working with the druids all along. And he's gonna look over everybody.
Not being forced to pay us a reward. Only ask what was promised. You'll find that took nothing that there was no collaboration.
Never try.
We'll see, we'll see. Well, I can certainly pay you some coin, if you so desire. But we can often be far more valuable than simple coin as well. Which would you care more for? Coin or a favor of far greater worth? Of course, of course. You notice as he leans in, as you guys have a moment to discuss among yourselves.
Hey, did you get some premonition?
I can go for the augury and find out if there's true value offer he's made.
I believe you are limited to once a long rest, and you used it last.
Fair enough.
I mean, you would know he's literally giving you a choice. You get to pick, and then he's going to give you one.
Based on what happened with taking.
Favor has some connotation.
Vision for me, I am a man of no possessions, care not for that most do. I would always rather have a favor. I think
That is true.
established.
I'm thinking that we pocket the promise, ask him to give some kind of note if a faraway place and he'd use it or
Kind of favor.
So you would rather have my favor?
Perhaps.
Favor or the coin? Make your choice. You don't become the only landowner in these lands who is not subservient to the devil by being anything but.
I would rather the favor amongst friends. And I think that way Davian would not feel like he's being strong-armed. I'll give him a wink.
Good, good. The favor it is? You all are unanimous? You all agree?
Favored.
Excellent, wonderful choice. And he goes off to a little kind of like stash underneath part of the kitchen. And you see as he kind of presses like a few odd little parts of the wood, and you see as he's almost like shuffling something. And after a few moments, he pulls out a beautiful golden bottle. And he kind of like looks around the room to see where everybody's kind of occupying space. And you see as he kind of points the bottle towards the open space, and he starts to work against the foil at the top, and pops off the top, and the bottle starts to stream out a little bit of fuzz. Glasses, quickly. This is one of the last bottles of the Champagne de la Samp. It is quite wonderful, and we will celebrate. And he will pour everybody a glass of champagne.
Oh, Richard. The heck?
This may seem like a obvious question, but is alcohol?
You not drink.
I've made it this long without indulging. Perhaps
There's no alcohol in this. It's just grape juice.
Man.
No alcohol.
Well, I shall give it a try nonetheless. I'll hold my glass up to toast.
Definitely has alcohol in it. He pours it. It's like kind of sweet, but it does have like it's still a pretty dry champagne, but the actual notes are quite wonderful. This is definitely one of those wines that is like a walk through a field, and it just smells of wildflowers, tickles your nose with the bubbles, and it just has like ever so slight of a hint of sweetness. And it's kind of hard to tell whether the sweetness is like the smell of all of the wildflowers, or if there's actually like a sugar that kind of just rides on top of the flavor. But he pours everybody a small glass. There's close to 15 of you, so there's not that much regardless. So even having never drunk before, you're not going to get wasted by having the Champagne de la Stamp. But he's quite reserved in pouring it. He's quite excited to have gotten a chance to open and enjoy this bottle. And you actually notice that when he takes the first sip after popping it, that he's also definitely excited to taste it. That it has actually remained a wine instead of turning to a vinegar, but it is quite delicious. To friends, to a future, and to burning all of the blasted druids.
Here.
Friends and far between, glad to have you looking out for us and make any friends along the way. And he'll just sort of look around to everyone. He's got like champagne all up in his mustache and sort of like twitching it up a little.
Oh, you don't even get to enjoy it at all because you can't actually smell a damn thing. And that's all this wine is.
I have no smell.
Fox will turn to Sarkis and go, "Don't worry, buddy. I've had that." Turn to Avi. Never had anything.
Stefania, is she with the baby? Dag, please, can you go retrieve my chest for me? I believe we have some gifts for these people here. So after a few moments, you'll see as Stefania's husband goes into the master bedroom just off of the kitchen, retrieving the chest that you all left behind. and he will gather it up and return to the room. Excellent. Good, good. Now, let me look through this real quick. I believe we can give you, let's see. Let me have, Kavi, roll a d6. So he's going to kind of reach into the chest, and he's going to start picking up things. And you hear like the clink and clank of glass against glass. And he pulls out a few odd-shaped vials, all of them with like a beautiful like crimson red color to them. And he's like kind of like shuffling with these, got like a little piece of parchment paper in his hand, and then he's like fumbling with a few pieces of like gold and silver jewelry, and he's just like getting a little more frustrated, and he starts just setting things out on the table. And you all can write down that you have 4 pieces of silver, each of them worth 250 silver pieces. They are a silver locket, a couple of silver rings, like 2 silver rings, and then the third one seems to be a brooch in the shape of a raven. He sets out a piece of scroll work on parchment, and then 4 healing potions.
Good.
I mean, for what it's worth, you can write down 4 art objects worth 25 gold. But it's a necklace, 2 rings, and a brooch.
No, the scroll work, is that like something in specific? Do we like spend time to figure out what that is, or know what that is?
Somebody can look it over and try to see if they recognize anything about it. But for what it's worth, just as you look at it, it just seems to be a rolled up piece of scroll.
Excellent.
And did you?
Yeah, it's a total of 100 gold.
That's a pretty sizable.
A whole.
I thought he said eat. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, but there's 5 before. That's 4.
And it's super random that all of that stuff is coming in 4s and that you have 4 people.
Yeah, I guess while one of the pieces of jewelry, and one of the healing potions each can just sort it out later on.
Yeah. Okay.
You can look it over, and it doesn't seem to make any sense. It looks like a lot of just like kind of scratches and gibberish. Oh, all of you also, when you're taking a short rest with Kavi along, you gain, I think you've got a D6 on your Song of Rest right now, Kavi? So anytime you use a hit die, you can add an extra D6 on top of that.
Anyone?
Yeah, it looks like right now you've all used at least one, so you can gain that extra d6. And I believe it is limited to 1d6. You can't, like, stack it depending on how many hit dice. It's just...
Oh yeah, also that he lecture found out.
Ah, quite generous of you, my.
Thank you, Master Martikov. Would there be anywhere that we could rest and cover a bit?
You're more than certainly welcome to stay here. If you don't lie to me, it seems the place should be safe. Mechanically, no. It is 10:15 in the morning, and you guys woke up about 2 hours ago.
We just got a short rest.
Yeah.
Okay, we're I want to ask him a couple questions.
Yeah, you guys are essentially breaking bread right now, so my bad. I didn't mean
Okay,
that.
cool. Now that we found ourselves with some coin, a few supplies that I would like to get along the way, where is there a shop or weapons combination of?
There are not many in this land who are making weapons. If you need them, it's dangerous to have weapons. It's a good way to gain the devil's attention. But Walakai is probably the largest, although I've heard that Barovia still has a little shop as well.
I don't need much. I've used some of my darts along the way, so too difficult to get a couple small pieces of metal that I can sharpen.
So as he's kind of going through and handing everything out, he'll also set aside a small bag of coin that has 20 silver pieces in it as well. And he'll kind of like slide that across to you all. Well, you've chosen wisely, and I'm more than happy to give you all these material possessions. But you will also find yourselves having chosen wisely, and the true favor that we offer is our own assistance. Well, seems Muriel may have inadvertently displayed a little bit more than she had willed to share with you. And perhaps you already know a little bit more than is best for anyone to know. But you'll find that much of my family, many of our friends, are cursed. And we have our way about this land. You needn't look far for our presence. And if you need our assistance, ask, and we shall do what we can to help you. If you're inside here, Ben, it looks like you are. They are just back in the Martikov and the Wizard of Wines, sharing a little bit of the Champagne de la Stampe, enjoying a little bit of treasure, and the note that the ravens of Ravenloft, or of Barovia, will help where they can. But otherwise, you can take a short rest if you need it, and that's kind of where we're at right now. Having done a little bit of a recap over last week, but all in all, it was simply you all clearing out the last of the druids. Tell me, when you killed the 3 druids that you did any of them have a precious stone? Glowing? Perhaps green? Maybe red? Giving off light in the darkness? And he's like leaned in deeply, like again staring into your eyes. Please, did you find it? Please, please.
Possession stone, but we did see some sort of strange glowing. Didn't we see something like that?
I remember.
Is that
I
my
don't-
imagination?
I don't believe you all came across.
I
Okay.
mean, that one.
Okay, I must be mixed. For some reason, I was thinking we saw some kind of glow like in time, but we never got anything. So nix that.
You see as his disposition kind of drops, the joy kind of falling from his face. It's no matter. I didn't expect them to have it here. But I shouldn't trouble you with more. My apologies.
Maybe you
I'm
can
sure you can't help.
tell us more about this session.
Oh, you're probably too weak to do anything. I'm sorry for even bringing it up. I didn't mean to trouble those who are troubled themselves.
Yes,
Come across such a stone, red or green, most certainly. Should the occasion arise, we'll return it to you gladly. That's what friends do. If you would allow us, we will spend the day with you and your family, and here tonight and in the morning, we'll return to Valakai. We'll sort of look around at everybody and make sure that's actually the.
same.
Do you intend to look for our stones? What have you to find in Valakai?
We'll gladly look for your stones. Or keep an eye out for them. They turn up. Truth
There's a
is,
blue one, too. Don't forget the blue one. It's probably not something that you can find, but if you by chance, there's a blue one, too. All three. 3 are important.
blue, red, and green.
But red and green. Red and green most of all. The blue one. Fucking odd.
As far as returning to Valakai, I'll do the best to fly as much, perhaps to revisit our earlier friends, mostly for knowledge. I think the hunters will be surprised to see us should we make it back.
So, do you all intend to just kind of spend this day in lazy reflection and allow it to pass?
I have 8 hit points. I'm ready for an adventure. I would like to spend some time kind of like chumming it up and try to find out more about the stuff.
So, depending on how you'd like to go about things, it's still kind of be like a family reunion style of thing where nobody's really doing anything. There's a constant level of like food is always being prepared. Little snacks are always being set out on the table. Everybody's kind of just like relaxing in the same room. The boys seem to be like running around and playing like between their room and not. Stefania is kind of in and out as she's taking care of their daughter. But overall, it's, what is that? I think 6, 10. There's probably 10 or so of you in the kitchen at any given point here, while you all are just kind of relaxing and just kind of chatting. And across the day, you can ask the different questions if you have anything in particular. Otherwise, if you want me in a monologue, I can certainly explicate.
My main questions, I guess, I can in character. Don't mean to be nosy, and I'll sort of like twitch my nose a little bit, and you'll see my mustache dance a little bit. I'm curious of or where we might find these stones, what meaning they have, what purpose are they magically family heirloom? They possess powers.
Davian's not even attempting to hide the joy on his face that by saying the stones were probably too difficult for you to retrieve, that you are intrigued by them and interested in saving them. It is very clearly exactly why he said it like that. And he kind of goes into the like history of this area, the Wizard of Wines being in particular an old winery created long before the Devil's Age. So it would be BD instead of AD. And the wizard that long time ago, he will share. Well, you see, the ancient wizard was able to borrow strength from the gods of this land. 3 Fanes. And in their time, they created a friendship between each other. The Fanes themselves have limited ability to affect this land, but it is theirs to rule. And during his time, he was a great steward of theirs. And he was able to borrow a portion of their power and place it in each of the stones. So you see, the blue stone has its home with one of the Fanes, and the green with another, and the red with its in kind. But years ago, my son Ulrich lost one of the stones in his carelessness. So we had two. And that is why you see our vines of the Champagne de l'Estape have died and withered with time. For it was burying the stones in the vineyard that has long produced the wines, contrary to the desires of the devil to make this place barren. And it was some months ago that the witch of that blasted swamp had started to send her scarecrows here, and they dug up the second. But it is only recently that the druids seem to have come with their attentions placed, and they have spent the time to assault us, and shortly before running us off, they took the last. So I'm afraid the wine that we have now is the last that Barovia will enjoy. Until, if by chance, someone, hopefully you, you're very capable, can save the winery and Barovia from the tortures of not having alcohol, because everybody loves alcohol. Alcohol is great.
Time we stones for you, one before the next, and turn fertility to. And also, I would like to. Darkus is drink for the first time, so I'm gonna make a constitution check to see how fucked up he gets.
Like they've got the other wines out. Or do you mean you're drinking beyond the Champagne de l'Estape from the toast?
Yes, sir. Oh yeah.
Doesn't seem to be a problem in the least bit. So across the day, is there anything else you all intend to accomplish? So I know how much you all just want to skip an entire day and get those wondrous glories of a long rest. But about 7 o'clock in the evening, you hear a horse walking up to the stables and coming up to the house.
I'll
Are there-
call. Hi, Kelly.
So from the second level, there's a window in the kitchen that you all are all at, and that's off to the west. Looking off over the, I think that was the, like the Purple Grape Mash Vineyard. And then over the actual vats, there were windows to the east. and those are essentially looking over the Red Dragon Crush vineyard. So tell me this, when you hear the horse, where are you running to? It's coming from the east. Because it's more a question of, can you get somewhere fast enough to have a chance? You see nothing.
He would.
I mean, for what it's worth, yes, you all hear the horse approaching. So the frontmost door is the glass blowing shop. That's where you're going?
Yeah, that's the.
It does indeed.
Yeah, so
So I picture like while this is kind of drinking and cutting up, spending time with the family, and what I was kind of planning on doing like all day, working with leather working tools, trying to make a little trinket for Davian. So I would assume at this point in time, I'm just kind of still working on it. I would address him. Davian, are you expecting visitors?
It's not abnormal for us to have visitors. Everybody enjoys our wines. Many of the locations around Perovia we deliver to, though, so it's perhaps not entirely regular. It might be the abbot. Perhaps it's the abbot from Kresk. It has been some time since we were supposed to deliver his wine.
Ah, excellent. And no need to be alarmed. I'm putting the touches on a little something I've prepared for you. And can I do a performance check to see how good or shitty this thing is?
You've got leatherwork as a proficiency?
Yeah, I have leatherwork like my deal, and I have like some scrap leather that I have acquired along.
Yeah, so I would say probably a dexterity check plus proficiency. So depending on how complicated the trinket is that you were attempting to make.
So it'd be a 19. I've needed a small bracelet, special but meaning to me. I know that you're fascinated with trinkets as I am, and I'll hand it to him, and it will basically just be like a leather band, essentially. And I would imagine he would have like carved in sort of like a silhouette of like the vineyard, basically. Just something that kind of reminds him of the area.
Yeah, so you can basically form like a tie-on bracelet, taking some time with one of the the wooden end of your staff to kind of burnish around the edges. And you can take a little bit with some of your other darts to kind of like wet the leather and do the imprinting on it. So as it dries, it will leave the different kind of like in negative picture of the Wizard of Wines. Ooh, that's quite beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Of course, a gift for a new friend, something to put us on your mind or remember us.
So about this time, as Vox gets to the front door, he will look outside. You see a tall figure standing next to a horse that appears to be on fire. its mane, while the horse is black itself, its mane is a beautiful orange that ripples in the wind as its hair seems to get more and more golden towards the tips, where it seems to just disappear into the air. And next to it, a tall figure who seems quite pale stands and looks. Hello, my friend. I do not believe we have met. It is my pleasure to meet you. I am Strad van Zarovich. May I enter your home and enjoy some wine?
On everyone.
It is good to meet somebody who understands the importance of good manners. It is a pleasure to meet you, Vox Landgrave.
Well, I
It is no worry. You see as he kind of puts a finger to his throat, and with a booming voice, Davian Matikov, I have come to enjoy your company and would appreciate your invitation to come to dinner. You see as Davian Sarkis jumps to his feet. Oh, this is unexpected. Definitely unexpected. This was not, okay. I've got this. Okay. And he's looking around for his cane. There we are. Kind of runs off to the corner next to his chair, grabbing his cane, and he starts to hobble his way down towards the front.
We'll follow him.
So, as you just kind of sit there in silence, Strahd seems to eye you for a moment, and then he looks over the vineyard. It seems the vineyard has seen better times. Perhaps it once had better keepers who were able to keep such a delightful place where others lack. And he just kind of eyes towards Vox.
Fox just shrugs. Not his business.
Oh, has your voice been lost? Do you forget how to have polite conversation? And I want you to make a wisdom saving throw.
Oh, sorry. Who is he talking to right now?
Vox.
I got you.
Can I?
Give me one moment. So you are most welcome to respond, but Strahd is a valued friend. Somebody you would never want to say no to.
Perhaps trying to make attempts on it. Worthy of.
It is always good to have friends, to keep enemies at the doorstep. But perhaps, as a valued friend, you also would not want to keep his guests waiting.
Yes.
Please, invite me in.
Oh, Strahd. I wonder how long it would cross paths again.
Silence, little one. My friend here, Vox Landgrave, was just about to invite me into the home.
Can I insight check Vox?
You can certainly insight check him. Roll a deception for me, Vox. Something seems off about Vox for sure. He's got like a big old grin on his face.
Friend, you say? I was under the impression you had not crossed paths yet, that he had only recently.
Who do you think brought him here? Vox, invite me in.
We were just planning to step out.
Silence, little one.
Well, I could invite you in.
It is no matter. I need you to take 18 psychic damage, Vox.
What?
Davian.
That's me down.
That's understandable. You're talking to the person who runs this land, and you didn't listen to him. Davian. You seem to have guests who do not have their manners. Please, invite me in that we may enjoy a glass of wine. And you'll see as Davian's like standing back and he's shaking, but the words are coming to his lips. Please, Lord Strahd, enter my home and enjoy a glass of wine with us. Excellent. It is wonderful to see someone with their manners. And as he steps over Vox, let me get a death saving throw from you, Vox.
That's a whiff.
It doesn't matter. Everybody knows you're in critical condition.
Not good.
It seems your friend, Vox Landgrave, is in distress. Do you have a way to help him? It would be most wise not to let him die in my land.
I will avert my gaze from Strahd and Vox.
And Strahd will just continue up, leading Davian towards the kitchen.
And I would like to use Hand of Healing to
So you just hear, like, kind of like mockingly Strahd talking about the condition of the winery as he walks to the west, or to the southern end of the vats, up the stairs, down the hallway, and then to the kitchen, leading Davian behind. He walks quite slow, so Davian can keep pace with him. But it would be pretty clear, like, Strahd isn't unfamiliar with the Wizard of Wines. And he'll sit down in the head seat where Davian once sat, pouring himself a glass of the, damn, I keep having to reference the name. The Purple Dragon Crush, the Red Dragon Crush. And you just see as he kind of like swirls the wine in the glass, and you see him staring into the legs as he looks around the group.
Walk back.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I go back. Darkest shoulder. Hopefully.
Strahd is still your friend. He's still a trusted friend and confidant of yours, Vox.
Just like out of character real quick, where is Sophia during all this?
Effectively, she would be in this group.
Alright, so I guess after helping Vox back to his Darkus will take his that's
I fear we have gotten off on the wrong foot. And perhaps you all understood my invitation to be an option to come to dinner? You thought you had a choice to join the Lord of Barovia when he invites you to dine in the Castle Ravenloft?
perhaps it was.
Misunderstandings often have the highest price to be paid.
Do not fault Rahadin. He meant it. I think if we were to send an invitation again, that we would be glad to indulge.
Rahadin tells me the most intriguing blue one took the invitation and accepted it before he left Walakai not 3 nights hence. Did you forget to open the invitation? And he'll just be staring bullets at Kavi. Do not lie to Strahd von Zarovich. You are in my land and I see all that I need see. I was watching and saw him hand it to you and saw you burn it. And he's gonna raise his hand, and inside of his hand there's just gonna be a font of fire that starts to burn. And as it burns, it's gonna kind of burn backwards as an invitation forms, just floating in the air just above his hand by about 4 inches. And as he kind of finishes that, he just weaves a little finger. As it swirls, the invitation begins to float before it sits in the center of the table.
God, accept our apology. Not same mistake twice. We are but humble guests and
Humble guests who seem to keep one I prize above others. I worry what poisons you might be sharing with those I would have in my company. And he'll be looking at Sophia. Is anybody picking up the invitation? My dear, your kind is intriguing, but do not think intriguing is a value that will prevent you from dying. For tonight, one of you here will die by my hand for your transgression. And you all may choose, or I may choose. But know that someone will pay with their life, and they will remain as my servant forever after.
Unless we. What was you require of us?
Ho ho! There is no unless. There is no unless. It is a life to pay for your thought that you can ignore my invitation. I am the lord of this land. I make the decisions. You follow them.
Lord, indeed, and all we've heard of your power, no demonstration necessary. Forgive us, not make mistake again.
Perhaps we.
Sarkis Shadowstorm, you mistake over and over again. Your desire to care for your flock is clouding your vision. You are no shepherd in these lands, for I am the wolf, and you are all my sheep. Choose now, Sarkis Shadowstorm.
So what does he want?
It's telling you to choose who you want him to kill.
Could that be anyone in the room? Like 15.
Master Strahd, I not make such a decision. Accept my humblest apology.
Very well. And he'll look over the group. Vox Landgrave, would you choose whose life to end? Who to leave damned to this land for eternity?
Couldn't think.
And do you choose to pay that price? For the transgression of those you now join, who never once told you of their own slight against the Lord of these lands?
I have not. My brave air.
Flee, servant of Yog, Would you let this one here pay for your transgression?
One another.
Would you pay with your life in his stead? For I will accept Vox Landgrave as a permanent servant in Castle Ravenloft. Does Flea have anything else to say? Or are you just kind of sitting there silently?
Okay, please.
Master,
I got it.
you ask. Ultimate. I'll know anything I can add to help a terrible.
It is death. It is your death. It is very simple.
Master, I am not ready to.
Kavi, you are the one who burned the invitation. Would you allow Vox Landgrave to die where you can choose to depart? To prove to the three of you that you are not heroes in this land. There is no hope. There is only suffering, death, and pain waiting in Barovia. The sooner the three of you let that sink into your skulls, the sooner we can all return to a more cordial existence, where we understand and appreciate one another for the very nature that we are. You would all notice he's been swirling his glass of wine the entire time and not taken one sip of it.
Okay. I got it.
Would you pay for your life? He has already said he would pay with his.
Don't do it, cop. Okay. That is.
Then ask me, Lord Strahd, take my life and spare my friend Vox Landgrave.
Have you not? But I'm ready to go.
In a moment, with nearly no movement at all, Strahd flashes to directly next to Kavi, tilts her head to the side, and is biting down into her neck. And you see as a little bit of blood begins to trickle down, and it almost starts to reverse back into the wound, or perhaps otherwise. But there is no blood remaining when Strahd releases her neck, and her body falls to the ground limp.
No!
So, Kelsey, I believe you have your second character prepared. You'll have to level them up, which will include rolling some further hit dice with them. But if you can go ahead and do that, we can take a short break here and kind of gather back in a few moments.
God! I was ready to die. I meant that. Genuinely meant I was ready to die. Like, happy to wrap my character and go in heavy.
I was waiting for you to say one of the Mardikovs should die.
I was ready to offer.
Sophia's probably the one person he would not have accepted.
That's why I was going to offer.
I mean, you can. You should have tried, because it would have been far more interesting than killing Kavi. It might have ended in an entire house of dead people.
Yeah, that's why I didn't.
So we'll take a quick break here. I'm going to step away for a minute, and we will rejoin in a few moments here.
Heavy, okay.
Yep, back up to level 4.
Like a whole list.
Right? Got like Fox would have like 7 brothers searching for the last one.
Well, in general, there's always going to be the option of actually taking on one of the dark powers. The problem is that Strahd killed her. She's 100% dead and gone right away. That's more of one of those things where it's like, that is a narrative kill more than that is like a mechanical kill.
That was epic for like, damn.
Yeah, that's one of those funny things where it's like constantly you have DMs talking like, what do you do if the party ignores Strahd and they never go to dinner? And it's like, dude, this is his land. On some level, if they ignore him, you remind them that Strahd is the lord of this land. He doesn't take no for an for an answer, and he's not a kind person. He's royal in that he's got like manners and like some level of that like mechanical kindness, but he is still evil to the core. I mean, you can do what you'd like. Depending on how long you need, we can definitely make it happen. For what it's worth, you don't necessarily have to have them entirely finished for us to pick back up. But in general, we're just going to kind of like add you to the same meeting here and just kind of continue forward. Like, to not like actually take away from anything. I don't want to remove you from the game. That's more one of those things where you all were either going to point somebody out who would die and deal with the consequences of that, or choose perhaps the noble, but maybe not as intelligent choice of dying yourselves. But I 100% felt like that was kind of like a beautiful arc for Kavi. It was a really powerful move. And I think it's the very same level of how crazy it was for her to sacrifice her journal. It's one of those weird things about like that kind of like damage, kind of like ex-slave sort of arc, was she just did one of the most noble things possible and saved everybody else's life.
I tried, I really did.
It's okay, it'll be a good end for Kavi.
Right.
So it was sort of like an inevitability that sometime we were going to pay the price one way or the other. But it was a weird situation, man, because it definitely 100% felt like if we would have went to dinner, he was going to take Sophia or kill her or enslave her or whatever. So we had to like do everything we could to like avoid it as best we could. But I think we all knew that eventually we were going to be paying the price one way or the other. But I've also never read Curse of Strahd, nor have I played it or watched it previously either. So, like, I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but like, it's 100% natural for me, and I have like a pretty strong like character arc of like what Sarkis would do in every situation, just based on like how I see him. So it makes it easier for me to make decisions, even if I know that the repercussions could be death.
Yeah, exactly the same for me. In that situation, Vox was not going to do anything other than sacrifice himself.
This is definitely a campaign where it's very important to understand that line for your character, where their moral obligation is to die on the hilltop, versus crumbling and doing what they think is wrong to try to live themselves.
Yeah, I think like for a lot of people or characters, it's like a big gray area, and I find like when you can sort of like get into character a little bit and kind of define like the personality of who you're playing, it makes it much easier to make like the tough decisions, if that makes sense. But it was messed up. He totally called me out like in the shepherd thing. I was like, oh shit, I just got owned.
Yeah, that was tough.
Oh, Key, I just made your character sheet on Roll20 for when you actually start to get closer to finishing. I'll have her stored like right above Kavi.
Alright.
And that again, it's kind of that gray area of it's not necessarily the important stuff for this session. So depending on where you're at with your character, we can kind of jump back in when you're good. If you want to take some time to talk with me in a side chat, we can also manage that as well. But in general, just let me know where you're at when you're kind of getting there.
I'm just at the equipment right now.
Yeah, I think regardless kind of where you come from background-wise with them, you'll more or less be kind of coming off of the idea that you're just like went to sleep the night before and you've awoken in just a perpetual mist and just kind of walking around unable to really see anything. You just kind of feel like you're just kind of walking in circles until eventually you see a pine tree just with a little bit of green remaining. It seems you've found your way out, and walking closer to the tree, you see another and another, and eventually you kind of walk out of this pine forest and see before you where the mist has completely cleared, and in front of you you'll see a just dead vineyard of vines, and then a large stone structure. And it's the only thing ahead of you. The mist is completely surrounded around that structure. And essentially, the mist is a wonderful plot device because you have no choice to go anywhere but where it guides you. And it leaves the Wizard of Wines in front of you, where you eventually walk forward. You see the little sign that marks it as the Wizard of Wines. And you can walk up to the door whenever you are ready and knock. You can walk on in. It's kind of up to you what you'd like to do, but that's kind of how we'll introduce your character.
Alright, I finished her. So Lena will walk up to the door and she'll knock on it.
You will wait a few moments at the door before you hear a male's voice from inside. Oh, one moment. I will be right there. One moment, please. And then the door will slowly open, and you'll see a tall gentleman with jet black hair. And he's kind of, depending on how tall you are, re-roll that one. Roll one more d10. I assume those are your hit dice.
Yes.
And you'll see this tall, dark gentleman. Yeah, so you'll have, what is that, 8 more? 31 total before your constitution. And it'll just be a tall gentleman with kind of like a dark tan skin, little bits of wrinkles and a little bit of gray to his hair. And he'll kind of look to you and he'll just see, hello, welcome, come in. Are you in need? Are you lost?
Yeah, I just was wandering and I suddenly appeared in this mist.
Ah, welcome, far traveler. Yes, our apologies. The mist dooms many of your kind. Please, if the mist is brought you here, there's not much more to explain, perhaps, but you are welcome to our family's wine, and we will feed you. The master of these lands is here right now. Please, follow me upstairs. And the gentleman will walk you through the house off to the south as you pass by those wine vats, up the circular stairs, 1 loop, 2 loops, 3 loops, before you arrive at the second flight, kind of walking down a hallway, and eventually into the kitchen, where you will see the 10 people ahead of you. Obviously, you'll see Strahd kind of in the center. A little bit of, like, blood across the white of his lip that just seems to be, like, moving down the, like, paleness of his face. And can you describe yourself?
Standing before you is a 2.5 foot a 2.5 foot halfling. She is wearing a chain shirt with a shield on her back, and she's along on her back is a glaive, and she has a flail in her hand. Her hair is a short pixie cut with bluish green eyes.
Elvir, can you prepare a little bit of food for our new companion? And he'll look over towards Strahd. She has just arrived from the mist. Strahd's gonna stand and walk up to the little one. Hello, little creature. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. And as he says that, he'll, like, kind of feel the blood on his lip, and he'll wipe it into his mouth and, like, suck on his thumb to make sure that he gets all the blood off of it. And then he'll reach out the same hand to you to shake. My name is Strahd van Zarovich. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Lena will reach out her hand and she'll be like, pleasure is mine. I'm Lena.
It is wonderful to meet you, Lenya. You are most welcome in my lands. If you require anything, you need only ask. And he'll look around to the rest of the group. Please, don't forget your manners for my sake. Welcome this young lady and introduce yourselves.
Just really quick, how much time has like passed from like the incident to now?
I mean, effectively, we're going off of, like, this just happened. Like, Strahd would have basically been feeding on Kavi about the same time that you, like, maybe like a minute before when you hear the knock on the door.
Okay, I got you.
Vox will outstand his hand to Lena. Does here.
So did Strahd like drop cop like the situation?
She's kind of like sitting off towards the side, like laying down across the floor. It almost looks as if she like collapsed, like in fainting. But she's like right next to Sophia, who's like, you can just see this little like redheaded girl who's like standing over the body, and she's shaking a little bit, but she's just kind of looking over the situation, and she, hello, Lenya. I am Sophia. It is good to meet you. Hello.
Welcome.
My apologies. How rude of me. Some disturbing things have happened of recent. And sometimes one must clean up what they have done before things can move along. And Strahd's just going to walk over to Kavi's body, and he's just going to lift it as if with no effort at all. And he'll say, kind of under his breath, and you'll hear like the neighing of a horse. And all of a sudden there seems to be a red glow in the room. And then from that side hallway between the kitchen and the master bedroom, a horse's head will kind of start to like form. And Strahd will take his other arm and open the door, and the horse's body starts to form, and it's like inside of that hallway. And he'll take Kavi's body, placing it on top of the horse. Return her to Ludmilla for me. She will begin the arrangements that are necessary. And the horse will neigh and slowly start to disappear, and with it, Kavi's body. In Barovia, we have a saying, out of sight. He'll walk back around the table, taking his seat, swirling the glass of wine, and kind of stare at the invitation on the center of the table.
Vauxhall.
Would you care to read it aloud for your friends? So everybody should be able to see the invitation.
No, I can't.
My friends, know that it is I who hath planned. I hope that I alone issue from. I bid dine at my castle so that we can.
Civilized.
Thank you. Oh my god. Surroundings, I'm guessing. Passage here will
Safe one.
safe. Oh, one. Safe one. I await us.
I think it's your lord.
Okay.
He's not a humble man.
Y'all be able to see this invitation?
It should have popped up when I clicked share, but maybe it didn't because I originally showed it to Vox when he picked it up. But you should be able to see it inside of your handouts under Strahd's invitation. Oh, yep, definitely sharing it to Vox first created an error, so give me 1 second.
Yeah, I'm trying to reload.
Does that make it pop up?
Popped up. I reloaded.
Yeah.
So
No, that's my apologies. I didn't realize, like, I gave Vox the ability to see it when he said he picked it up, and I was waiting for him to say that he was reading it before I shared it to everybody, and I didn't realize that it wasn't going to share in the same way once I gave him permission first.
Writing so joined up. It's not pretty.
I would still be most gracious for you all to dine with me this evening. I understand that it might seem we are late in the night, but I assure you if you would like to travel with me, we will have no problems in our travel. I believe you also believe there is a reason to visit Walakai, and I must admit that tomorrow's Festival of the Sun should be a most astounding celebration that perhaps should not be missed. So, perhaps, if you all are famished now and would care to eat, we can break bread, head to Walakai, and safely at the gates I will leave you there, under the knowledge that tomorrow, in the evening, you will come to dinner at Ravenloft. But that way, you too can enjoy the Festival of the Sun.
So- Go ahead.
No, go on.
Marcus would just like look up for the first. No offense, but paying no mind to. And look up at Strahd with tears in his eyes. Say, act as if we have any choice. Casual life will be.
I think you forget. You have the choice to follow my will.
Demonstrate us.
Davian, if you would be so kind as to lay out food for our guests. My apologies. For your guests. I myself am rather full and will not take dinner this evening. But after we eat, we can get on the road and you all can decide whether you would like to stop off in Walakai or if you would prefer head on to Ravenloft.
So was he saying go to Ravenloft to like festival tomorrow? Saying stop off in Malachi for the festival today and then go. I might have misunderstood.
My bad. I kind of misspoke how I said that last one, but he's basically telling you all, like, you can make the decision, like, if you'd like to have a late dinner, we can travel to Ravenloft tonight and have dinner. If you would like to catch the Festival of the Sun, which he's saying should be a quite interesting celebration, you can head to Walakai with him, and he'll leave you there under the pretense that you will show for dinner tomorrow night after the Festival of the Sun.
My lord, if we go to Sun Festival, how will we get dinner time? It is.
The festival starts early in the day, but travel from Walakai to Ravenloft, as you well know, takes little more than 3 or 4 hours upon the road. It is only when you are trying to avoid, and I must say trying, to avoid Rahadin, that the road is not a most expedient mode of travel.
Makes no difference. Find no reason to celebrate any festival, or could I enjoy it even if I tried?
Fox will have sweet.
Strahd's just kind of like looking over everybody. And then he looks back at Fox. Oh, is that a request for me to leave and give you privacy?
Just check.
If you were contemplating having dinner with the Martikovs, I am actually very close to another desire of my heart, and perhaps could meet you back here in some 3 hours. We could still make our path to Walakai before you are too exhausted with the travel.
Out of character. Exactly is he offering?
He's basically saying he's close to something else that he'd like to do, and if you needed 2 or 3 hours, he would kind of leave you all for a few minutes.
So Sarkis, sort of knowing, would just look back up at Strahd and we will come with you now. I will come with you now. No need to delay any longer.
Do you all agree to come to Ravenloft this evening? Rahadin, I require the wagon.
Just to be clear, I mean, patient is body, not
I don't think you have any reason to assume that it does not include Sophia.
that's the only rationale. Maybe leave here and okay, Vox.
Lady Lenya, would you be so kind as to join my friends here in a night's travel to my castle? You will find it most welcoming. How wonderful. Our party will be most excited to hear the tales that you two have to share. And Flea, oldest of friends, I assume you would not want to miss this occasion either.
No, my lord. I would be happy to.
Wonderful. And he puts his hand to his ear. I believe I hear Rahadin arriving with the wagon as we speak. And it's like about 30 or so seconds afterwards that you start to hear again, like the clippity-clop of hooves, as well as like the kind of like bumping of the hard suspension of a Victorian wagon arriving.
What?
There is a better word for this that I don't have in my notes for the immediate response that I should have to that, but he is something kind of akin to Strahd's butler.
Manservant, perhaps?
No, I mean like an actual word, like it's like a real description of the profession.
And?
No, I'm thinking of a Victorian word, so for now we're sticking with butler. There's no need to guess. I just mean that when you ask specifically about what he is in relation to Strahd, there's a better way to describe it in Victorian terms than simply saying butler. The Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Ah. Now, one of the things that we were given as kind of our payment for during the Druids was a small brooch that was a raven.
Indeed.
Strahd traveling with.
I would say you're probably traveling with Strahd.
Sorry. I want to ask him, Raven. Show him the brooch.
That seems to be quite beautiful. It is not the most wonderful, but it seems to be fashioned by somebody with budding skills that belie perhaps a future in such work. Maybe in time they could grow to be a wonderful artisan, worthy of the Lord. But alas, this is just a trinket. And he'll hand it back to you.
Thank you.
So the wagon ride is anything but smooth as you all travel to the east, slowly turn to the north. As you start to head back towards the Old Svalich Road, you start to hear a little bit of the river of Lake Baratok and the Raven River. You eventually feel as the wagon kind of crosses some deeper ruts and starts to head on Old Svalich Road back towards Walakai. It's probably about like an hour and a half until you make your way to, once again, here in the river, around the River Luna, and you cross over the bridge towards Walakai. And around that point, you kind of move off of the road and moving kind of towards the southern side of Valakai, the wagon heads around the city and into the woods before eventually coming back on the other side of Walakai. and popping back onto the road and traveling once again. In like the first big kind of leg of that journey, is there anything else that you all would kind of discuss with Strahd? Is everybody kind of like clasped lips? Are you curious? Are you just kind of silently staring off?
Oh, Strahd, how did you?
My father was lord of this land before me. And while he fought some opposition, it was not until afterwards that through my own great effort and many long battles was I able to conquer all of the tribes that once inherited. Inherited is a poor word choice. Once inhabited this land. That was a better time. And probably for the first time you see him kind of like lost in a nostalgia. And then he looks towards Sophia. But not all of the best of times lead to the best of ends. We all pay tolls with a price and lose the things that we don't expect to pay.
There you had it.
Everybody has their equal. Everybody has their greater. Even the lord of a land, damned as one is in this place, I am but a prisoner in these lands, as you are my prisoner in this land. Do you have a symbol of helm on your armor, on your person?
Yeah, I guess you.
Is
I
it
have a
something
symbol of helm.
hidden, or is it something that he sees?
No, I don't think Italian.
So, like, if it's a necklace that's kind of hanging beneath your breastplate, he'll, like, kind of reach out his finger, and as he taps with his fingernail on your breastplate, it's right on the other side of the symbol of helm. We all have greater powers that we serve, and often make bargains of what we will give to gain such blessings as they will delve to us. I feel like delve is the wrong choice. Like dispense.
Yes, I can say that. Tell me. Hours.
Not all gods have names that can be spoken. Not all pacts are sworn in prayer.
Tell me, Strahd, have you ever heard of Knights of the Dragon? I hope.
They are among the enemies who I fought with for quite some time. They are but fleas. Excuse me, flea. My apology. They are but a nuisance to be thrown away with the bathwater.
Name of them.
As all things in Barovia, perpetual death.
But certainly not.
What is a threat in this land? I have seen none. So you all continue on winding through the road as you head north. Anybody kind of looking out of the window, depending on which side you're on, at a different point, you once again see sight of the windmill. And it kind of ends up being like essentially if you're on like the right side of the carriage, you can watch it for a while before it kind of does a U-turn where the left side can kind of look back and see it off behind you to the west. And then it turns back around. You end up going, continue on through the road past the actual little trail towards the windmill, up higher into the lands as you once again gain sight of the gates of Barovia, seeing the massive statues of knights long lost to time, their stonework almost 60, maybe 80 feet tall, this massive arch of stone that blocks the way. And you kind of pass through, and as the gates open for you, they close behind with no guard on the gate at all. And before you, you see Castle Ravenloft looming high in the sky, beneath the moon's light. The castle is perhaps more frightening to head there with Strahd. It has always had a eerie looming characteristic because it's always the furthest that you can see. The mist almost will always open up where you can see Ravenloft, but in another direction you can hardly see a quarter of a mile. And as you wind up the hill towards Ravenloft, you enter over a small bridge that passes through the outer gates of the castle, in through a massive courtyard. The wagon comes around to the north side of the entrance and kind of winds around the entrance, and you stop before massive wooden doors with like different turrets on each side of them, and the turrets are filled with arrow slots for defensive purposes from within side. You're like approaching the keep, and as Rahadin stops the horses, walks to the side and opens the door, he'll first give his hand to Strahd as he helps Strahd down from the carriage, and then he will wait, extending his hand to Lenya and attempt to help her down from the carriage. And then he'll look to the others, preparing to help Sarkis down.
Sarkis will just look down at the ground and then down on his.
And he'll kind of like bow low to you with his head like slightly turned away into the west as you hop down. And he'll put his hand out towards Flea.
Thank you much.
And then he'll follow with Vox.
Box.
And Strahd will look back to Rahadin. If you would be so kind as to care to the horses, and perhaps if you can send word to my brides, instruct them that we will have guests this evening, and that they should be on their best behaviors, and they should arrive shortly, let's say at 11 in the music room. And Rahadin will bow. Yes, my master, your will. I will attend, and I will instruct the ladies. They will be prepared. And Strahd will look back to you all, raising his right hand. The doors will open, and these two massive wooden doors are going to slide as the double doors open. You'll see two dragons on each side of this room. It's like, again, it's another like archery encircled room where there are arrow slits looking down on this room, and there's another set of double doors inside. And the two dragons just kind of like are woven into the stonework, and they each are just like staring over the square with their massive mouths open. And they're both painted red with a deep like crimson and almost like an orange look to them. And oh yeah, Rahadin would have helped Sophia down before Lenya. My bad. And they will, Strahd will open those doors with his raised hand and start to walk through, opening the next gate. And as you look inside, there will be a massive, sprawling room ahead of you. It goes probably about 40 feet back as you see large stone doors that are almost 30 feet tall, and there's pillars throughout this room. Much of the room continues in each direction. It's about like 60 by 60. There is a probably 3 colonnades of pillars. There's a large staircase off to the west. No, my bad. Off to the north, which is to your left. And then there is a small entrance hall to the south, to your right. And then ahead of you is those massive stone doors. And in the center of the room, about 15, 20 feet away, there is a woman who is dressed in a beautiful red dress, and she will look over everybody and see Strahd and say, Strahd, it is so wonderful to see you. Who are your friends? We have guests. Are we entertaining tonight? Anastraya, we do indeed have guests, and I would invite you to make yourself ready. Please, we must show them the finest of times. If you can tell the other brides to make sure they as well are prepared, we will be enjoying a meal with our new guests and friends at 11 tonight. That is so wonderful. And she's just going to look to each of you, and she's going to try to shake your hand and if you shake hands with her, she's also going to be leaning in for a kiss. So she'll go to Sophia first, and she'll kind of like shake her hand and like lean forward. Sophia's kind of reserved, but like she'll kind of like jump forward almost a little bit and kiss the left cheek, kiss her right cheek, and then she'll look to Lenya. Reaching for your hands. What do you do, Lenya? When you're bowing, she's gonna try to like basically drop to the floor as much as possible to kiss your cheeks. If you're trying to avoid it, you can roll a dexterity save. I rolled a 5. So yeah, as you're kind of like dropping to a bow, she almost like leaps forward to kiss your cheek, and she's just in a quick instant like and gets them both, and then she's like shaking your hand like, "It's wonderful to meet you. I'm Anastraya. Please let me know if there's anything you care for." And then she'll go to the next, and she kind of continues this as she's trying to very warmly greet everybody, and in what is effectively like a French style, she is trying to greet you with both a handshake as well as a kiss to each cheek.
Sarkis would take her hand, look up at her, eyes wide, and go with whatever she's.
You see as she almost like forms kind of like crow's feet in her eyes as she smiles really big as you kind of kiss the opposite cheeks while she's kissing your cheeks. And she's like, looks back at Strahd, "I really like this one." And then she kind of like looks back and she's like, "What's your name, little one? I'm Anastraya. Please let me know if there's anything at all that you need."
Pleasure to meet you, Anastraya. I am Sarkis. Shadowstorm.
Ooh, Shadowstorm. That sounds wonderful. I think you'll go wonderfully here. That's just grand.
Did you say like what? Oh, never mind. Human, I'm assuming.
Yeah, she seems to be human. She's wearing like a red dress right now. And just kind of has like beautiful jewelry, like kind of all about her person. She's wearing like a little bit of a tiara, that's like set with large pearls, and a necklace that has both like a, like beautiful kind of like teal bluish gem set in the center, and just like large kind of stones across it that seem to be different precious gems, but it's like a quite ornate and large setting, and she seems to be like ready for a party right now.
Look wonderful, Anastasia. Pleasure is all mine.
Oh, this is nothing special. I still have to get ready. I didn't realize we were entertaining tonight.
Throughout this, Free wants to keep his eyes open. He spots any of the gems that were described to him in the winery overtly.
You can roll a perception. Like looking around, and you see, at least on her person, there's plenty of value in gems on her, but none of them are shedding light. So after greeting everybody, Anastraya is just gonna kind of like clasp her hands together as she just looks over everybody and she's like, it's so wonderful to meet you all, but I really should change into something that's more wonderful. So, if you don't mind, I'll be back shortly, and we can enjoy dinner tonight. It's glorious. And she's just gonna spin around, and her dress is going to kind of like flow outward with the centrifugal force. And then as it's kind of spinning, she's just gonna start to, very light-footed, just like move off to the stairs. And in just a few moments, she's up and moves on to the stairs, starts to head up to a higher part of the castle, and disappears in the stairs as they kind of move off to the north, and then they start to, there's like a way to the east as well as the west, and she goes off to the east.
Just before this,
You can proc a divine sense if you'd like to.
yeah, I just
You will get both of their attentions quite quickly.
oh really?
Please, do not be under any pretense. We are both already dead. You should find cause to ask, rather than be so invasive, or you may find yourself stepping beyond the lands of a friend, and find yourself unwelcome in my land. You are my guest. You are safe here. Ask. Do not offend.
my apologies.
You forget that I am the Lord of this land. Do not think just because I have those who are more powerful than I, that I lack in power while we are in my home.
But of course,
Can I insight check to see Fox appear to still be on God?
He should be. That's one of those things where I'd rather just let him do that instead of constantly reminding him that Strahd is your trusted friend right now. You probably shouldn't be doing a lot of the things that you are. There are very few times that I want to take player agency, and it's not lightly that Strahd took control of you in a way that you are charmed.
Okay, so I know from what he did, Javi, Fox is still under his charm or whatever it is.
Yep, and you're relatively aware that it's going to be about an entire day, if not longer, that Vox is going to be just as friendly to Strahd, if not more friendly to Strahd than to you all.
Okay, cool.
So as Anastraya heads up the stairs and starts to move away, Strahd will point off to the south, and there's essentially like a small hall down in that direction, and he'll start to walk off in that direction. And as he opens the doors in the center of that hallway, they're smaller, about like 15-foot high doors, still made of like a beautiful stone worked like kind of marble, and he'll like just kind of gesture with his arm as the doors open, and he will look to then southwest, to the west side, kind of looking towards the like front side of the castle. He'll point towards some doors, and as he points, the doors will start to open, and you'll see that Rahadin is waiting inside of that room. And they will usher you all in, and Strahd will continue in beyond you. You'll see a large table set for, 10? And on the far side of the table to the furthest west, the entire wall is a massive organ. And it is like beautiful, like gold and brass inlay, and this massive, like 3-part keyboard. And Strahd is going to move to the keyboard, and we're going to take a break right here.
Excellent. What a crazy fucking campaign.
So, as you all enter, Strahd will walk to the organ, seat himself with his back to you all, and start to play. You all can place yourselves, as he'll at times kind of look back and say, "Please, take a seat. Enjoy yourselves. We have some of the finest food that you will find in Barovia prepared for you. You can enjoy some wondrous lamb. We have some delicious elk. There are wondrous vegetables. Everything that you can desire. I can make sure that you can enjoy it." Find Rahadin just kind of like inside of the room, and he just kind of stands at the ready. So if you can, when you're ready, just put your miniature where you'd like to sit. Oh, like if you go into character, you can drag yourself onto maps. I can place you, but like... Yeah, that's fine. You see as Anastraya arrives around as you all preparing to sit yourselves, and she'll look very similar. She's in a far fancier dress. It's still a quite beautiful red. She's donned like some more beautiful gems and things, but she runs up quite quickly, and she looks to Vox, and she'll run up to the seat next to him and seat herself. And she'll lean over. "Hello." And then the next who will arrive is a far darker skinned woman. She seems to have a lot of characteristics quite similar to the Vistani. And as she kind of walks in, she'll look about, taking a few moments. She also is wearing a tiara. Hers is made almost entirely of gold. And looking across the room, she seems to be wearing a quite beautiful white dress as well. And she'll look through the room, taking a moment. She'll move And she's gonna seat herself next to Kavi. Why, hello, most intriguing one. You look quite beautiful tonight. The next to arrive is another pale-skinned human who's wearing a skull for a mask. No tiara, but a most beautiful, silver, untarnished, glistening skull. And her dress, though quite beautiful, it just doesn't seem as new and wonderful. Yeah, my bad. I have alarms so I can try to actually hit, like, key points of the session. I did not hear it with my earbuds in. So I definitely appreciate it. Yeah, I try to have, like, the 3-hour alarm, so I make sure that we hit, like, a big climax, and then, like, that last hour is more of, like, a coming down. So yeah, definitely did not hear that. So yeah, the Scald one is going to come in, and I think she's going to sit next to Flea. And she's going to sit down next to Flea and say, "Why, hello. It's most wonderful to meet you. You seem touched. Ooh. By the Invincible One. How wonderful. How excellent." My bad, what were you saying? We lack no familiarity with the gods of this land. And then a few minutes later, you will see a blonde human male who walks in, and he'll have a little stringed instrument by his side. And you'll see as he walks in, playing it, and by the time he comes into view, he's taken it down from his side, and he'll kind of look across the room and takes a moment. "My lord," as he bows towards Strahd at the organ, and he'll look over. Hmm. And he's gonna sit himself not next to, but near Sarkis. And he'll look to Sarkis and he'll say, "Hello, little sir." "My name is Escher. It is wonderful to meet you." And he'll reach out a hand. Very soft. "Wonderful to meet you, Mr. Shadowstorm." And Strahd's gonna kind of like look back. "And Gertruda, is she well enough to come to dinner?" And Rahadim will look around. "I believe so, my lord. Perhaps she is just taking a little longer in getting prepared than the other brides." Perhaps you can go check on her and see how she fares." Strahd will stand up, leaving the organ. The room will go silent, but he will raise his hand, and with like a little bit of a swoosh, you hear the playing starts to begin again, and the music continues. Wonderful. It is a pleasure to have you all here. Hopefully, Gertruda will be able to make our acquaintance as well and enjoy this fantastic evening. We so infrequently get to have guests. Indeed, she's... Oh shit, I need a Sophia still. She is one of my... Kind of like looks across the concubines. Most recent acquisitions. And then he kind of like stops for a moment as he looks to Sophia. He's like, my apologies. I should be less crude. Thank you very much. I have built much of it in remembrance of my father's homeland, and more in celebration of my own conquests. We are from a distant land, and it was a long time ago that we traveled in hopes of conquest of a more verdant land. But alas, we are cut off from that world. The people once called it Terra, but they were lacking in creativity, for they named it Earth. Time loses much meaning. I believe I was here for some 50 years after my conquest. Wait, I said that wrong. Some 50 years after my father's conquest. 30 or so of those would be during my own times of struggle. I believe now Rahadin, and Rahadin's going to appear at the door. Rahadin, how many years has it been? And he'll look to Strahd. My lord, I believe it has been 600 some years since the incident. And Strahd will look back to Flea. I believe I have been in Barovia for nearly 700 years. And a few moments after Rahadin stands in the center of the doors, you'll see as another young lady approaches with raven black hair. She's got a nice dress on, but it's not a wedding dress in the same way that the other three women have shown up in different quality of wedding dresses. And she kind of comes in and she's got like purple and like light pinks, and she's got really fine clothes on. But as she comes in, you see that she has a rosiness to her skin still. She's not as old as these other women, as Escher, as any of the others who are here. And she's going to walk in and place herself near Ludmilla. And she'll kind of look around. I'm sorry, my lord. I didn't mean to keep you waiting. I assure you, Gertruda, it is most wonderful to know that you are well enough to attend and to meet our new guests. It is a fantastic evening for many reasons. I hope all of you can enjoy the cause for celebration. Tell me, what do you think of my land? Do you all find joy in this place? Are you enjoying your time with us here in Barovia? If you are looking for the meaning of life, sadly, Barovia may not be the place for such pursuits. Please, tell me, what kind of wonderful things have you learned in your evolution whilst in the land of Barovia? And he'll look over to the other halfling, Lenya. You are one of my most recent guests. Please, tell me, what is your first impression of this land? What was life like before the mist? And I know that might be putting you pretty hard on the spot, Key, but depending on what you know about your character already, you can either narratively say you kind of describe this, or you can actually describe something. It has been so long since I have seen the lands beyond this place. Before the mist is one of the most beautiful things I can imagine. What kind of trees? Tell me of the trees. And would you eat this fruit? Tell me, what kind of flavors? What did they taste like? And do you enjoy the sweet or the tart ones? What were your favorites? Ah, life is best with the sweet and the tart. It sounds delightful. What sort of animals did you have in your land? Do you hunt? Do you care for them? Were they friends? So, side question, because I didn't really look before. Are you a druid? Okay, I got you. I was gonna say if you're a druid, keep that list because those are things that you can turn into, but I got you. It sounds delightful. It has been quite some time since Barovia has had different animals. For much of what we have here is fed on by the wolves. And he'll again kind of look to everybody's plates and he's like, please eat, enjoy yourselves. These elk, these lamb, they are most exquisite things in this land. They should not be left to waste. And he'll kind of like look around, like stares to Vox to flee. Tell me, have you enjoyed your times? Do you remember where you came from? What wonders do you remember? I long to feel a breeze across my flesh again. It has been some time since I have stood atop these cliffs and felt. None of Strahd's people are eating anything. Empty plates. Kind of the same thing. Strahd has poured wine into his glass and he's swirling it, but he's not drinking. Please do not skip a delightful meal on our counts. These meals no longer nourish our kind. We are cursed. We cannot partake in this nourishment. It is little more than torture to see. But the memories. And he'll look to Gertruda, the last to have arrived. The memories for some are closer than for others. But there are other gifts that come with this loss. And he'll look off to Vox. You can use your magic to see that I have done nothing to this food. It is no harm to you. While you are my guests, you will find no harm in this place. So you're currently surrounded by 6 evil creatures, to your right, to your left, and across the table. I think you could post Divine Sense or actually read it to me. I'd rather actually see it, but I don't believe it would show anything for Rahadin. Everything else, it's just you're surrounded by 6 creatures that are extremely evil. Yep, all 6. No, you're good. What are you doing? Seeing Flea eat, Sophia will start to eat. And while she looks like she wants to just, like, throw caution to the wind and just, like, dive in, she still shows she's, like, a level of royalty, and she eats very slow, very meticulous, but she's pounding food, too. Well, if you all have found Barovia a wonderful and enjoyable place, I am glad. There is much in this land that is purely of my making. And there is that which is also out of my control. And I hope to find one day that bringing you here was a good choice on my part. There's much that me, my brides, and he'll look off towards Sophia. My love makes me care for this land. But perhaps not all things are meant to last forever. I believe my suffering, the presence of Tatiana in this place, and he's still, like, looking at Sophia, are a large cause for the land of Barovia. And its presence here, in this place. I wanted you to meet my family, to meet Escher, to meet Ludmilla, to meet Anastraya, to meet, I have to look up her name because there's so many of them, Valenta and Gertruda, to know my family, and to meet you. I believe maybe you understand that I have brought you all here in great hopes. But when I bring someone, I have... And he's, like, raises his hand, and he's kind of pinching, like, 3 of his fingers, like his thumb, middle, and pointer finger together. And he's just kind of staring at it. I see a thread of your potential, and I can bring it into the mist. But I do not know who or what you are until you come here. I do not know the choices that you will make once you are in Barovia. And like many of those who have come to this land, some come with the Vistani, other are dragged in by the werewolves, and some more, and he looks to Escher, are invited through the mist. None of them prove any better than the next. But there is always a chance to find those who perhaps I am looking for. And perhaps in time, satisfy the needs that we all have in this place. And he's going to kind of look towards his concubines on the left side of the table. He says, Escher, Valenta, I thank you for your time. My friends and I need some personal time. Feel free to return to your own actions. We appreciate you attending our little party. And he'll look to the right side of the table. Gertruda, Ludmilla, Anastasia. You as well. Thank you. Please attend to your needs and have a wonderful night. We must delve deeper into their ways. And all of the concubines are going to stand. They all bow in their own time. Anastraya's going to, kind of leap onto Vox and kind of give him, a big hug and then kiss him on his cheek. It was so wonderful. You all have a great night. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Strahd, will they get to see the procession? Please take some time so they can see the procession. And then she's going to walk out of the door. Rahadin will follow the last of them out of the room, and he'll bow to Strahd and say, My lord, we have discussed your desires. Please call for me when you are in need. I will make sure the brides are all away from this place. And he'll look back off to the entry hallway. But if you care to, you have about 40 minutes before the procession. And it would make Anastasia happy. And he'll shut the doors as he leaves the room. So, you have seen a first look of my own. And I believe, depending on who you have spoken to in my land, you know some of what we are. And he'll look back down towards Vox. And you know what we are. But many are cursed in their own ways. Not all are cursed of their own volition. But there is always more to a thing than simply the outward appearance. Perhaps what I think it was Sarkis who asked, was most interested in your attendance here is to try to figure out which of my brides was sending you toward the Fanes in an effort to work against me. There's someone who I cannot trust in this place. And they believe that you are their greatest hope. I know you think of me as your enemy, but I need not be. I have the power to send those through and from the mist. Perhaps we may find not all of you deserve their freedom, and perhaps some might choose to stay behind. And he's like looking at Sophia as he says choose. I am far from omnipotent. I see much. I hear much. But there are those who can work around things. I believe you have seen one Madame Eva. If nobody's going to respond, I need deception checks. And technically speaking, Lenya, you don't have to roll this. So from the other three. Oh, it just depends how you're going to respond then. She is an old one with many powers. And I am curious. What did she share with you? What have you found? It is my understanding that one of my consorts is working against me. And perhaps in this show, they have hidden means to an end. And if I may be so bold, I believe everyone might fail to understand that I too am stuck, imprisoned inside of this mist. And that when things, and he'll look over to Lenya, are ripen, that perhaps it is only working to the fullest of our power. Might we find a way to free us all of the curses of this land? When I was attempting to conquer this place, before my ascension to Lord of these lands, it is true that the Vistani saved my life, but to call them my servants is perhaps a great mistake. Vistani find themselves most free of all of my people in this land. I have never taken their ability to travel for the service that some of them provide for me. I believe you have been enjoying some of the alcohol that they procure and bring to this place. And again, he's looking to Sophia. He's like, it comes from my home world. They have been most gracious to bring it. But alas, I still cannot taste it. Cannot smell it. I remember the feel of whiskey on my lips. I remember the taste of cinnamon, but it is gone. The Vistani are perhaps the closest I have to friends. But like many things, one Vistani to the next are not the same Vistani. Many people have made the mistake that Vistani are a uniform group. It is quite sad to see what the world has made of them, of their travels, of their beautiful choice in life. But no, the Vistani are not my servants. I mean, in general, Sarkis is super active, so if you've got something to say, Flea, I would lean to you to say, you go for it. For far travelers, for Borovians, for my friends in Ilk, we all are consumed by the mist. It is dangerous to act against its will. I have some control over the mist, as you saw from the day that I brought you into this land. But I myself am burned and consumed by it in the same way that you would be to try to leave this land. I can manipulate the mist inside of it. I can manipulate the mist for a chosen few of those who are here. Asher and myself have been attempting to perfect a way back to his own land. He hopes one day to see Waterdeep. I hear a city of splendor. He hopes to see it again. We have opened the mist, and he has seen, but he cannot touch. We hope to make that path more permanent. The Vistani, though, they step through the mist as if it is not even there. The price that I paid, the choice that their ancestors paid when they saved me, it is giving the Vistani a gift, and their travel is unimpeded. The gods that rule this place, Yag, your close compatriot, they are close to perhaps what one might say created this place. I myself am tempted to say that whatever this place is, these gods here are just as damned as we are. Sarkis, what were you thinking? Do you still have that in mind? So I think give me an insight. And I think you are correct in understanding that Madame Eva works the cards. She tells the story that she desires to tell. She holds power over the Vistani. But alas, they were already calling me the devil long before Madame Eva walked this land. And I think you would see that he was being pretty truthful, but he held something back when he started to describe Madame Eva walking this land.